We're once again here at the Salem Square where the bulk of construction has been completed. The project featured new sidewalks, ramps, pedestrian islands, underground plumbing, and some other minor adjustments. I had the opportunity to sit down with Mayor Justin Green to discuss the project and a few others. I'm here today with Mayor Justin Green to talk about all the construction in the county over the last couple years. Good morning, Mayor, and thank you for taking the time to sit with me today and talk about the construction around Salem and the county.
Glad to. Good morning, Nick.
Mayor, there are three major projects we were focusing on with the project. First being the completed Highway 56 West project. What can you tell us about that?
Well, certainly. Highway 56 was a long corridor here in Salem from the stoplight out to the west side of the community, there at the bridge, there at the caution light where 56 and 60 separate. That was a NDOT start to finish project and was designed in-house by their engineers and their firms. Their design certainly allowed us to comment and try to get things we would like to see in that project and how it would better the intersections or maybe better flow of traffic up and down that corridor. The construction started in a big way, and it did. It shut down that road. There was a lot of questions about could one lane be done versus the other and allow some back and forth in the flow, and it just wasn't possible in their mind and their eyes for safety. And so because we do have enough side roads and other arteries that allowed for a little bit of a detour for locals and a big detour then for travelers that went through this corridor from time to time, we had to navigate that. And luckily we had the side streets, the additional roads here in Salem to make that work. The state had targeted this road a long time ago and hopes to getting it done because of the years of abuse, large trucks, a lot of traffic. It needed a lot of work, and so luckily it stayed on schedule from the NDOT perspective, and they did funnel that money here, and we were very fortunate. That was over $13 million worth of road improvement in that corridor. So we're very pleased with that product. We all would have liked it to have been quicker, but as progress goes, sometimes it takes a while.
And then you talked about the detours, and we were out the other day and we saw some of the side roads that local traffic might have been on a lot. They were pretty tore up, especially the sides. So we saw that you guys had laid some stone there. Was that you guys, or was that NDOT, or who was responsible for that?
Well, you're right, and so we've, especially Market Street, there's a couple of other side streets, but Market Street got a lot of abuse going in that direction, and we have subsided, added to that shoulder and added those rock berms just for safety, and so it wouldn't break off the edge of the pavement. Those roads, particularly Market Street, are not done yet as far as the repairs, and so as we have a contract with NDOT allowing the detour to happen through city off of their main road, we do have some reimbursement coming, and those will be fixed, addressed. Some bad spots, quite frankly, will be cut out and repaired, and it will look as good, if not better, than it was before the detour started.
Then there's an ongoing project with the Square and Main Street. What can you tell us about that?
Certainly, goodness, that's another good, very deserving project for our community. You know, Main Street, just as it sounds, aptly named Main Street, it gets so much traffic and so much daily use. You know, the street was really getting in bad shape, the entire corridor. And again, a lot of years since a major project had happened in that corridor, and that was slated as an application process, and we were selected. We've actually got two more applications behind this one that were awarded. So, you know, we've talked a lot about the dollars Salem has been offered in grants, and it's a huge win for Salem. And so this particular one you're asking about, yes, from the stoplight to the south gate of the square was the project parameters. And so now, different than 56, this is not a reconstruct, so we don't go exactly to the dirt, but there are some things that have to be moved and aligned to get started. And one of them was the water line. We did lay a new water line first, and then the construction of the road started, and that included curb and gutter, sidewalks, some utility relocates. Duke helped us, Midwest Gas helped us. So we moved some things in appropriate fashion to get them back where they need to be, a little out of the flow of traffic, if you will. And so as that is wrapping up, there's been a lot of improvements. And as you can come down Main Street, you start seeing those. The streetscape alone, as you drive, the visual effect is already a lot better. And that was one of the end goals. Certainly took a while to see the end come about. It was a long project. Our pedestrian islands have been formed and built. The sod's going down, the trees are in the ground. Got a few light poles to go up yet, but it's really going to make a nice project for our community.
We've gone around to a lot of businesses to talk to them about the impact the construction has had on them, and they almost all told us that it has hurt their business in one way or another. What do you have to say to those business owners that were affected?
Oh, certainly, goodness. And from the city administration side of things, we're certainly sympathetic and know construction has some growing pains. There is a little give and take, and certainly don't discount any of them having a little pinch point. I get that completely, and we want to accommodate where we can and certainly make that a smooth pinch point. When I say growing pains, is it 2 or 3 days of a succession, or is it 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what type of project it is. The trade-off is if we don't do it, then we deteriorate and we lose either some of the asphalt, we lose some of the utilities. There comes a point where we have to do it. And goodness, I really think we were there in a lot of ways. And so then moving forward, you think, okay, these are things that are done. These are things that are a box that's been checked. And so we shouldn't have those interruptions. And then that business can continue to thrive. Quite frankly, maybe make the business even more successful as the beauty gets better, the ease of parking gets better, the ease of pedestrians maneuvering and going from one quadrant of the square to another.
One of the main concerns that the business owners had specifically was the lack of convenient parking on the square. Not only right now, but with the adjustments being made, the parking situation doesn't look like it's going to get a lot better, which is what they've said. Are there any solutions that you know of for that?
Well, yes, and I'll say that's twofold. And our square has always, and I say always with all due respect, it's always been a little bit of a hard place to park. That's nothing new. Goodness, mayors before me all have said the same thing. What do we do to help? Is there a way to do it? And certainly we don't want to go back to the 2-hour parking meter where we feed at quarters. Those days are well past us, and putting in meters not necessarily the most appropriate thing to do. Yes, there are some solutions, but parking spots, that are more accommodating to current vehicles makes it more inviting to park. And so that's one thing we are doing. We're making that better. There also is some plans to increase the parking just off the square. And, some say, well, if they can't see my business and park in front of my business, it's hard for them to stop. And I understand that. And so we're trying to get those options of some of those folks who might want to walk a few more feet. Maybe they would appreciate parking just one block off, freeing up some more spots. So yes, to answer your question, I think there's some short-term solutions coming. I do think it'll get better. I do think people will find it easier to park and, again, help that question.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about Milestone Construction and your relationship with them?
Well, Milestone was the successful bid on Highway 56 through NDOT, and so they were selected through a state process. And so when the city of Salem then put up our job for bids, we had several that submitted, and Milestone happened to be one of them. So the irony is they did 2 jobs while they were here, located here, I guess I would say. And so as they wrap up this job, now I'm not familiar with anything that they've got coming up here locally, so you may not see them for a while. It
also seems like there's been a lot of confusion within the community about the funding of the construction. What would you like to speak on that?
Oh, certainly. Goodness, Nick, you're right. It gets interesting. It's kind of a bad game of telephone. I heard this and I heard that, and I get that. That's human nature. So I'll back you up to your first question. The 56 project was state funded. That was their job. And so those $13 million some dollars were all state dollars. Now the Main Street project, as we say, from the stoplight to the south gate, was a federal highway project award that there's some confusion that NDOT funnels to the city. And so that's a federal grant that the city received based on a state process. And so those dollars funnel through the state in that fashion. So that one is funded in that sense. Now, we have some inherent cost, of course, going into that. That federal highway project didn't cover the water line. We paid for that in a different fashion. So the road work, the sidewalk, the curb and gutter, the streetscape, the light poles and the trees, by and large, that was all the federal highway dollars that paid for that, including the pedestrian islands. Because it was a federal highway project, we do have to mandate, or they mandate, excuse me, how the ADA compliance work and making sure everything is up to date.
And then, are there any additional comments you'd like to make?
Well, you asked me about, business concerns, and certainly I've said it more than once, and I mean it with all due respect. There are some growing pains, and I want our city to grow. I want our city to prosper, and sometimes we tackle these projects that are underground. They're not necessarily the most attractive projects, but those things that need to be done to make everything last, to make everything generational, if you will, in what we do. And so we've went a lot of years with not doing a lot of big projects, and so we've had a few, and it's kind of like that sticker shock. Oh my gosh, we're doing something else, and don't mean it to be that way, and certainly I understand some inconveniences come with that, but gosh, the final product is something we all deserve. We've not had a lot of big projects for a while, and these are very visual, and so we want to make the best of what we can and certainly get our share of the pie, and there's no reason we shouldn't strive to be a better community, and I want to help us get there.
Absolutely. Mayor Green also mentioned that the pedestrian islands serve a dual purpose. Not only do they allow a safer cross for pedestrians, but they also slow the traffic on the square, which he seems thrilled with so far. When it comes to parking, he said he would like to encourage business owners as well as residents of the square to park just off the square, allowing for more parking spots for those that are shopping. Once again, we would like to thank Mayor Justin Green as well as the other business owners that took the time to sit down and interview with us today discussing the project. In downtown Salem, this has been Nick Ingram and Gus Hanjagors, the Salem Lions News Network.